Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mr. Tucker. I have been away for some time. Well, number one, I want to apologize. We started off 2025 with such a momentum. Everything was just flowing so right. And then just out of nowhere, you get a phone call, or in my case, you get a text message, and suddenly your world just changes. And rather than get upset, I start to just appreciate the trials and tribulations of life differently, because I start to view them as, once again, it's like life's giving me another lesson, but an opportunity to learn how to deal with something. Because as a mentor, inevitably, anyone that I'm working with, they're going to come across some of these same struggles. Some of the same struggles that I'm facing, they're going to come across as well. So, but the benefit is they have me, right? And so again, it's just like what I tell my mentees, and as I'm starting to recruit some of my mentors as well, the things that we go through in life, there's no losses, man. It's lessons. There's only a loss if you choose not to learn and appreciate what you experience. But there are no losses. It's always a lesson. And you gotta constantly think about it like that. Like, I'm not a loser. I didn't lose. The only time you're a loser is when you didn't give your best effort to something. And as you're licking your wounds from defeat, you're coming to grips with that. Like, yeah, I could have did better. But that's really, if you're doing what you're supposed to, and if I'm doing what I'm supposed to as your mentor, that's rare that that happens. So we're not really worried about that. All right. But and it's also that reminder, like, don't take things so for granted, man. Like, every tomorrow's not promised. So stop assuming that just because we're waking up that we're gonna get it, because that's not true. And so we got to do a better job of, like, making the most of today and stop putting everything off for tomorrow. I'm not saying you have to go all out in reckless abandon. No, no. I'm not at all telling you that. Okay? I'm not telling you that at all. But you do owe it to yourself to give it your best go while you can. One of my coach and one of my mentors, we talk about being hungry. And I'll be honest, in building Just Inspired Mentoring, man, I've had manic days where I'm just like at my computer, researching, writing, typing, organizing, creating, and I might not even eat, or I'm just like neglecting myself, but I'm just so focused on what I have to get done. A lot of people will see, like, yo, I gotta get done for my job, because their motivation is that paycheck. My motivation is my freedom, because when I get this right, not only am I going to be able to live my purpose and be able to support so many young men, but I'm also believe that I can achieve both, take care of myself and help others at the same time, which is ultimately what I want to do. The reality is we can do anything we want. You just have to be hard-headed enough to go and get it and not stop. And no doubts. See, a lot of times we say we believe in things, but there's doubts in our head. Or reality. Reality is the word we like to use when we just wanna when we don't got it in us to make that jump yet. We use words like, you gotta be real and all this. I've been there before, I get it. But the young man, if you're listening to me, the only reality is the way that you make it. Okay? It's just that plain and simple. The only difference between the successful man and you is the hours that he put in that you did it. And oftentimes we don't see the hours that people put in. We just see the final product. Like, I have a friend, my sister has a friend, very successful. She's in the arts. I have other friends that struggle at the arts. You know, I tell everybody, and it's not to take away from that young lady, and she's gonna go off and continue to do great things, and many do. But there are some people that takes time to find themselves. I offer Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson had a later career, but he's one of the most successful actors of all time. But if you talk to him in his mid-30s, that you wouldn't have said that. But you talk to him in his 50s, you're saying that. And so it's a lot like how I tell, especially the guys I talk to in high school, like, you don't have to be the biggest man right now. So what? I'm telling you right now, that was 20 years ago. The game's going to change. And so do you want to be the best now, or do you want to be the best for what's to come? And so the sooner you start thinking like that, the sooner you can start to put the work in. It just so happened that I'm able to use all this knowledge because I can meet guys that have different interests that I can still relate to. And I can also talk about how you can work and create things at the same time. But yeah, I know we hit a snap in our podcast streak as well. And the reality is there were so many different. My grandfather passed away in February. We had the funeral on Valentine's. On top of that, I have some legal issues that I'm getting to. Even though I'm a business owner, I did have an employer, but I was illegally taken away from my work last year, and that disrupted a lot for me. But it didn't stop me from making grounds with my business. In fact, losing my job and struggling in my personal life, I actually made business gains. Like my business made more grounds and more growth with me going through extreme personal tragedies than it did with me being in a safe space. And I think one of the reasons is just that I was hungry, and being hungry, that those instincts come back. And I think we don't all have the same instincts because we haven't all been tested the same. I think there are some of us that if you take everything away from us, we're gonna go and get something. And I just think it's innate. And it might be my Queens background. I'm gonna tap that. Also, the fact that I had a father that went out and did it. I think it's easy for me to attempt. And let's talk about that, man, because a lot of people love to talk when they finally made it. And so you're listening to someone right now that I am far from finally making it. I'm definitely work in progress. It's humbling, man. It really is. And it's about keeping that humility when you get there. And I want you to take this, because this is something that when someone said it to me, I started to think about the experiences I have going forward and thinking about the ones I had in the past. Nobody that's got it is ever going to make fun of you for not having it. And people only tease you when you got something that they don't. Okay? Like, if you were a bunch of rich guys that really have money and they're talking to you about your business and you ain't got money, they're not going to talk to you about your lack of money. They're going to talk to you about what you do have value. You want to know why? Because rich guys, unless they were inherited, they understood that there were other things that are important to you becoming something of value besides just the assets. There are things that you have that are going to demand those assets, right? Like, there's a reason why some people show up, they get a certain price and other people don't. There's a reason why you get the hourly wage and why I would never. But there's a reason why somebody looks at my price and say, well, I would never, right? That's that value. And we all have it in us. We all have it in us. And sometimes you just got to move around and find someone that'll recognize it back to you. And that's been a lot of my business, a lot of my challenge. It's been one, understanding fully what is that value that I have to offer, what makes me unique. One of the things that I pride myself in is, and I think it was actually during my grandfather's funeral, just looking over his photos, listening to everyone's testimonies about what he meant to them and the imagery that he possessed. And that's one of the unique things about me, is to come from a pedigree of men of a certain caliber. Like, I know a lot of good guys, but they're the first generation. Like, their model of a good man is all of what they've encapsulated in their mind. It could be, like, for example, a lot of guys, like my peers, there are a lot of brothers that are doing an exemplary job with fidelity of being a father. And they'll tell you, I'm giving what I wish I had because I didn't have a father. But I'll be damned if I'm going to let this child experience that. And that's driving them, and that's beautiful. right? They're still doing great. And that's awesome. And we applaud that. But the reality is a lot of people need to have some type of model, right? And the same thing with business. Or we're trying to just be a decent man. You need a model to look at. Where do I get that from? And so what I believe makes me so unique is I get that from, I didn't just have Kenneth, my father. I had Clyde, my grandfather, my father's father. And I had Henry, my mother's father. 3. The Holy Trinity, baby. Whew. Think about that. I just told you most men don't get 1. I had 3. I still got 1. My father's still here. And I definitely need to make my way to see him and spend some time with him. But I had 3 definitive examples. So it's easy for me to be different. If you look at my recent YouTube drop about the poverty trap, and talk about how we have to reprogram ourselves and the mindsets, is a reason why my mindset is going to be so different than a lot of my peers. I can't relate to their experience because I don't have it. Number one, my narrative has been written by a man. A lot of guys can't say that. It's unfortunate, but it's true. A man did not write their narrative. He definitely still affects it. Being absent affects it. But the fact that marriage is, it was not written, it's not demonstrated. For a lot of us, and I believe this is starts to affect the second generations, right? If you didn't learn how to be a man from a man, that means that there was artificial things done to replace that. Be it TV, music, media, your mother's best idea of what that was, or maybe you had uncles or your mother's boyfriend. That's different. I'm not talking about that. And when it comes to these other figures, are they full time or are they in and out? But that's I came to really appreciate that. Like, one of the things that stays in my mind as of recent is just thinking about how often I'd see my grandfather rocking in his chair, reading his books. He read a lot of good books. And speaking of that, I want to bring some awareness to, starting on March 18th, Just Inspire Mentoring, we're doing a book challenge. We're reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. And we're hoping that some of you that will hear this, that you'll sign up to officially read with us. Because at the conclusion of reading this book, we're going to do a pilgrimage. That's right. We're going to get on either a train or a bus. We're going to go up to Harlem, May 19th, 2025, the 100th celebration of Malcolm X. It would have been his 100th birthday. And we are going to take a part in that celebration and also see some of the memories of the legacy of the great Malcolm X and have a late lunch at Amy Roof's, a classic, legendary Harlem eatery, and reflect on this experience. Yeah. So, please, follow us on Instagram at Just Inspire Mentoring. Follow us on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@ Just Inspire Mentoring. Alright? The instructions are up there. And we'll be putting up more information as days get closer. But come on, we should do this, guys. Let's read it. Deep. It must be time for me to cut out soon. But guys, this podcast it's not as organized as the ones in the past. And the reason being is I wanted to address you all. I'm grieving. And that has disrupted my workflow a little bit. But we are working diligently to get back in order. And so hopefully you guys will be seeing some more amazing content from us soon. Please, if you haven't already, this is what I need you to do. Go to YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Remember, youtube.com/@ Just Inspire Mentoring. Tell a friend. Get some people to subscribe. If you love the content, let me know. Let me know what you love, what I'm missing. All right? But yeah, guys, I wanted to check in, give you a little bit of an update. Hopefully we'll be coming right back with another episode to get us back on track. It's time to get to work. And I want to give a shout out to Women's History Month. You know, I know this is a mentoring company, and I talk a lot about males, but they're behind every great man. There are so many sacrifices that women have done for us, and I don't think I'll do enough justice to speak to that. I know sometimes, even in this podcast, I could get on my tangents about the importance of having a father, but understand that it is the importance of having a loving mother. That's where you get your empathy from. My father made sure that we understood how important our mother is and how we ought to honor her always. And with that, guys, I'm gonna take it down. I wanted to just, like I said, it's been a while we haven't talked. I really wanted to address y'all. I really appreciate everyone that likes, subscribes, shares, talks about the podcast. Thank you. This is work in progress. You know, many times people talk about how, like, yo, everybody always want to talk about how they get it. You know what I mean? How they want to talk about it once they already got it. Well, Just Inspired, you're looking at a man in progress. So I hope you appreciate the production of every episodes. I'm learning, and I give it to you. You know, like I do edit my stuff, but if I notice something and I can just get it next time around, that's what I usually do. So I hope you guys appreciate this. And we are actually recording this on our new iPad Pro. So what's dope about that is this also houses our hotline where we do the bulk of communicating. So if you ever need me, check this out. If you ever need me, and I mean this, if you ever need Mr. Tucker, you can get me. I'm trying to find that number for you now. If you ever need me, you can call me 24/7. Not 24/7, because if you call me late, I'm not answering. You have to leave a number, and I'll get back to you. But the number for me is 443-892-0812. This is the official Just Inspired hotline. So if you're listening to my podcast, you're listening on YouTube, you want some information, want some support, hit me. You can call me, you can text me. You can text me 24/7. All right, guys? Remember, that number is 443-892-0812. 443-892-0812. Sound like a song. But all right, guys, this is that's a wrap for an episode. Be patient with me. It's been tough. We're gonna get there. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Thank you for allowing me to give you this episode. I apologize for it not being the most polished, but it's real. It's me. And I look forward to getting back into the swing of things. Alright? Alright, guys. I'm out.